Saturday with Mansfield and Mates, and last week I was bitching and moaning about the new Studio 3, that Jean-Pierre and Nick had put together for us. It's just a nicer, warmer, it's not the sort of formal studio that we use during the week. It's more just relaxed because we tend to do the relaxed sort of shows on Saturdays and Sundays. I complained about the brick color, so they've just like, what have they done, Jerry? They made it a little bit more grey because I'm colorblind. This is you need to be heard. You can't just nod your head, you chop.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, so they've made it a bit more. Is it grey?
Yes.
Yeah, grey. They've made it more grey, which I quite like. Stands out against my white shirt. They've changed the cushions. Those Afrocentric cushions have gone. But these ones just don't work for me. I mean, we've got like Fruffy the cushion here, and Gert die dooie springbok. Maar is eintlik nie 'n springbok nie. It's what's that stuff called? It's synthetic. But I feel like I'm sitting in the Karoo. So I'm still not happy with Nick and Jean-Pierre. These need to be changed, please. Okay? Once again. Now, Mansfield and Mates today. Mate of mine who, geez, I first bumped into, it's over 30 years ago. And he's been all over the world, doing stuff all over the world. If you were in South Africa, if you were in Johannesburg, we had when I was working for Capital Radio at Mill Park Galleries, we had what we called Studio 6. And that was the Mill Park Holiday Inn across the road, the pub. So when you left the studio complex, you'd say to whoever was on air, we're going across to Studio 6 if you'd like to come and join us. And everyone knew that we were off to the pub. And one of the people who at some stage was F&B manager of that particular area, I think I'm right in saying, was Chef Kevin Cram, who joins us now from the United Arab Emirates. Ah! What have you done? Look at you.
Yeah, it's not by choice, huh?
Chef, I've only ever seen you in a chef's outfit. You're looking so bloody corporate now, it's scary.
Yeah, no, it's a frightening time in my life for me too, don't worry.
Now, am I right? You were at one stage at Mill Park Holiday Inn. You were running the F&B there, weren't you?
Yeah, so I started off, I finished my hotel school, and then I was put into Mill Park Holiday Inn as a trainee chef, and I worked myself up to executive chef. At the time, working with the different outlets that we had around there, and yes, supervising Studio 6 as well, which we had a lot of fun in.
Yeah.
It was a great time back then.
You moved on in what was then the Southern Sun Group, and you were all over the place with them, all over the country, weren't you?
Yeah, so I went and did quite a bit of time up at Sun City, and then came back down to Johannesburg, where I worked quite a bit with Bill Gallagher, which the Honourable Bill, which we miss, still to this day. Mm-hmm. And then I joined a company called 4 News Development, and we did the opening of 4 of the casinos around the country, doing all the F&B in all the casinos. So it was Sugar Mill Casino, Carnival City, and then one down in Cape Town, and then up to Johannesburg to, what's the name?
Of the one in Joburg. There are about 3.
Yeah, man.
There's Gold Reef City, there's Silver Star, and there's the Tsogo Sun one at...
no, man, whether in 4 ways. The name's just gone out of my head, man. I'm getting old.
Yeah, you are getting old. That's right next to the Palazzo Hotel.
Monte Casino.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, what is it with you, Chef? Because you seem to have been... Because you went from South Africa to Hong Kong to work for Cathay Pacific Airlines.
Yes.
What is it with you? Is it a certain type of personality that goes for the sort of mass catering thing as opposed to your small little restaurant type feel? Because they are worlds apart, aren't they?
Completely. I mean, I was involved in turning around a lot of restaurants in South Africa, going in, looking at the product, fixing their menus, turning it around to turnkey operation where the owners could then, run it on a profitable basis, because people think it's just easy to open a restaurant. They think it's just, I'm going to open up my own place. They don't understand what goes on in the background, and the work that has to go into it. The interesting thing with Cathay Pacific is that it runs exactly like a hotel kitchen. You've got your hot kitchen, your cold kitchen, your cheese room, not just a cheese area. And we were doing then 87,000 meals a day, but it ran exactly like a hotel kitchen.
So it was just taking one element and applying it in another way, really. But the thing is, what people don't realize with airlines, because you've worked with Cathay, you've also worked with, who did you work with in the Middle East?
Etihad.
Etihad as well. But what people don't realize is you were doing economy class, business class, first class, halal, kosher, vegetarian, vegan, lactose intolerant,
high fiber, low fiber, soft meal, liquid meal,
all the rest of it. And you're packaging up all of these out of one huge kitchen, which is the size. I remember going through with you the Cathay kitchen, and that was the size of like 10 rugby fields. And they were just chefs.
Yeah, 52,000 squares.
Yeah, and I mean that was something. It's a machine that just moves all the way through. What is it that fascinates you about that part of the business? Because you explain a bit what you're doing now, because it's essentially the same sort of thing.
Okay, so let's go back to Cathay for a minute, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So you think of you getting your business class or first class plate on the plane, okay? Mm-hmm. It's restaurant standard, and it's finished off exactly like a restaurant dish, correct?
Yeah.
Now you backscale that to doing, say, 10,000 of that specific dish a day, and the quality control and the hygiene aspect that goes into that to make sure that dish is uploaded and looks exactly the same in the air as we photographed on the ground, that's what intrigues me.
Okay. So it's that uniformity.
Because you're relying on people up there that are not chefs, okay? Yeah. They're cabin crew. So they've got a plating guide. They said, put the lettuce here, put this on top here, put the tomato over there, and put the dressing around it like this. Yeah. So you're relying on that aspect. And also, people also don't know that at 35,000 feet, you lose 35% of your taste in your mouth. So I can give you a Côte de Neur Grand Cru, which is $43,000 a bottle, or I can give you a Fischhoek Sauvignon Blanc, which is $2 a bottle, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. It's only your perception of looking at the label.
Okay, so you've got to obviously change the meal as well, because you're going to lose a lot of flavors. So you've got to use other things to keep those flavors in them. I remember you had almost like, it looked like a little oven that you'd put food into, and you literally, while you're standing in that kitchen, you take it up to 32,000 feet, and then bring it back down and taste it and see what the difference in the taste is.
Yeah, so we simulate the dish in an environment where we can actually adjust all the seasoning so it does taste good in the air. If you took that same dish off the plane and tried to eat it at home, it's going to be just overpowered with spices and salt and stuff. So, yeah, it's that adjustment and to compensate with your taste buds and losing that taste under that cabin pressure.
It's fascinating. People don't realize the work that goes into this sort of thing. Now, to come back to what you're doing now, Chef, I still can't believe I'm calling you chef and you're sitting in a suit. My God, Graham, what's happened to you? Yes. Does your wife even recognize you when you get home now?
Yeah, we'll just park that for once. Huh? I think the advantage is when I came to the Middle East, I joined a company called Compass Group, which is one of the largest catering companies in the world. And I went from what I call behind the apron to the front of the apron. So I transitioned from a kitchen into an operational role, but still keeping a strong focus on that kitchen. And I think that's the benefit that I bring to the current business that I'm in, because I mean, I'm at one of the largest exhibition centers in the world. I mean, we do tons of events, which are coming back now. Thank goodness COVID is starting to calm down. So we're getting the events coming through again. Massive weddings of 4,500, 5,000 people, which is the standard in the UAE. And I still touch that kitchen. I mean, when the last event we had here, the chef was going, "Oh, you know, I need to do this, and I'm running 3 other areas." I said, "Just bring me the food, man. Just bring me the food and the plates. I'll plate it up and I'll stick it out there for you." Yeah, so I think what I bring as far as value goes to the business is being able to work on both sides of the apron and support the kitchen where they need the support, as well as doing the front of house management side and supporting the event side of it as well, and being client facing.
What do you have any idea what the biggest function is that you've actually ever done, Kevin?
Yeah, it was actually in South Africa at in Joburg, where they host the Easter Rand show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 15,500 people, seated meal.
Yesterday, I would head for the hills. I mean, there must be a huge amount of planning that goes in up front when you're talking about not only that sort of function, but the functions that you're still doing now. Most of it, I take it, is actually executed in the planning.
Absolutely. So what you do is, and you don't see it from behind, you see all those tables in front, but you don't see behind that there's massive tents. And we would say break it up into 200 people lines with chefs and their hot cabinets and the food ready to go. So they only look at the 200 that they got to get out. And so it all filters in and comes out together at the same time.
But then, Kevin, how do you make sure that everything comes out at the same time? That's what fascinates me about this sort of mass. I don't want to call it mass produced, because it's not mass produced. It's just really good food. It's A-class food that is served, but everything comes out at the same time and it's all hot. How do you coordinate that?
It's your line of chefs, not having too many people in that line and not having too many hands involved. And then you have your service people that are standing in line ready to pick up those plates and run off the line. And you're just feeding off that, you're going like clockwork. And you should be able to do, say, 1,000 people in less than 18 minutes. Everybody gets their food in front of them.
If there was anything that you could do or would have done, if I turned around to you and said,
"We'll still do."
You what? What would
We'll still do, not just could have done. I'm not that old,
Yeah, okay. But I mean, what other career would you have gone for if you weren't a chef?
Honestly, I've tried to get out of food a number of times. I worked in accident services at Joburg General Hospital. The food was cuck. I went into the kitchen and said, "Look, you got to sort this stuff out." So I got involved in the kitchen there. Then I got out of food. I said, "I've had enough. I'm going into set building." So I did set building for feature films up in Namibia and all over Southern Africa. And again, the food was cuck. So I said to the one guy, I said, "Look, I can't eat this anymore. So either I come in and take over and you step out if I can do a better meal for the same budget tomorrow. Otherwise, you need to change it." So he put down his apron. He said, "Well, you come in tomorrow and you serve breakfast and see." So I did. And so I got into catering for feature films instead of doing set building. So I've tried to get out of it a number of times and it just keeps on sucking me back in.
Well, listen, Chef Cram, it's been wonderful catching up with you, and all the best of luck. And give a big kiss to the entire family from the family here at Mansfield.
I will do. Thank you very much.
Chef Kevin Cram.
Thank you, man. Thank you for your thank you.
Accident services man, set builder, chef, and now Director of Operations at Capital Hospitality in the United Arab Emirates. Just another one of Mansfield's mates. We'll catch up with, you know who I want to get hold of and have a chat to? Because I see her nearly every single evening. No, don't start getting cocky with me, is Sally Burdett, because I worked with her at the SABC on a word or two years and years ago. I'd like to just have a catch up with Sally Burdett. Maybe we'll get her on the VMX line next Saturday. Right now, time to head into the garden with another Mansfield's Mates, Melanie Walker.
Come on, what's wrong with the jungle?
Kazam, you just suddenly land on the couch and you start wanting to redesign the entire thing. You know that Jean-Pierre and Rick put a lot of work into this, and they're going to get so cross with you. Rick will slap your little wrist.
But I can make a living wall for us, a nice green planty wall.
Go speak to Jean-Pierre and Rick.
Okay.
Nothing. I'm not going to take on your fight here at all.
Okay.
But that's fascinating what you were saying about people's allergies becoming worse and worse and worse.
Because, I mean, since I was with you last week, I mean, I've been man down, man. And
Well, you weren't with me. How was lifestyle, by the way?
I was with you. I was asked lifestyle. That's right. Yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed the gardens. I mean, if you haven't been through, do yourself a favor, and if you're in Johannesburg, go through and have a look. They've done some amazing work there, and they are tiny little gardens. But my favourite one I have, apart from the Karoo garden, because I have this hankering to go and live in the middle of the Karoo, where the air is clean, because I'm allergic to Johannesburg. Can you believe it? But there was the one with the Cape Dutch.
Yes, that was all food.
Yes, it was a food garden.
Yes.
So it's basically like an outdoor dining room, which I found really appealing. You felt like you were in Cape Town. They have a very talented mural artist on their team this year, which was so good, but definitely worthwhile.
Yeah.
But the whole thing, I keep thinking about feeding yourself from your garden, and that's very much which a lot of the students and a lot of gardeners and people who are designing gardens are trying to incorporate into people's garden spaces, is growing your own food. And I think that during COVID, it became a big thing.
Yeah.
And for me, it's even more, and we've spoken to Linda Galvad about it before, the wonderful Linda,
Yeah.
about how food can upset your entire system. And especially as we're eating mass-produced foods, which we go into a supermarket, we don't even think about it. And that's why people are turning to organic vegetables. Everything's organic that grows, let's be honest, but more naturally grown stuff. If you grow it at home, then you've got complete control.
You know what's in your soil,
Yeah.
you know what's being put into it and what's
Yeah.
being taken out.
But I mean, I've now found out that I'm not allowed to eat a whole lot of stuff. And I was thinking about stuff that I've been allergic to in my life.
Like what?
Well, when I was a kid, I was allergic to all subtropical fruits, raw nuts. So I couldn't eat bananas, I couldn't eat avos, I couldn't eat mangoes, kiwi fruit, fresh pineapple. I could only eat tin pineapple.
Jeez.
No raw nuts at all. I'd just get this like throat thing. And then all of a sudden, I wasn't allergic to those things anymore, but I became allergic to egg white. Who knows?
You're a
Allergies
messed
are-
up little child. Do you know that?
I know. I've been mad for my whole life. But it's allergies are very much on the rise. If you see how many people, and especially kids, who've become suddenly allergic, nut allergies, gluten allergies, all of these things, and I think it has a lot to do with mass-produced food, to be honest with you. But then, by the same token, there's some things that you could be eating that you don't realize are actually very bad for you, even if they're supposedly healthy,
Yeah.
which I found out there's a whole lot of stuff now I'm not allowed to eat because it pushes things like your purine levels up. So you have to work out what is wrong with your body first and then find out what you can eat. So one lady I know who also works in the green industry, she's fantastic. You'd love her, Claire Reed from Real Gardening. She has at the age of 15, she came up with this thing in a competition where they had seeds and it almost looked like a tape measure. And you could unreel it and then just plonk it into the garden, like at the right height. There was a line on there, the seeds imprint in the whole thing.
And that would then break down.
And it would
the
break down
seed
and
would-
the seed would grow from there.
And they're obviously placed in the right...
in the right spacing
Spacing.
apart. But she
Very
actually she
clever.
won an international competition and was lauded and sent over to, I think it was Norway, and she went over for like a teenager, okay, doing this amazing thing. She then decided, I think she was she wanted to be healthier in her way of eating, obviously because of what she was promoting. So she started eating more and more vegetables, basically like vegan, and she wasn't getting any better. In fact, she was getting sick. And it took a long time for them to work out, and with her almost at death's door in ICU in a hospital, to realize there was something that was in the green leafy veggies, I think it was,
Oh,
that she
my
was
goodness.
allergic to, or her body couldn't process properly, and it was actually almost killing her. So growing your own food is fantastic, but first of all, I would suggest, in the same way that a doctor or anybody who grows herbs will turn around and say to you, if you want to use herbs, make sure that any medication that you're on, first of all, is not going to affect you negatively. Okay, because some things will take your blood pressure down and you may have low blood pressure, or the opposite thing. So always check those things first. And the same thing goes for your food, especially if you're growing it
something
even.
we should talk to Dr. Vicky about at some stage,
Yeah.
is food and the combinations of food and how it can affect you if you have things like low blood pressure and that sort of thing.
Yeah, or things how to naturally lower, and what is good for inflammation, because I have a lot of inflammation in my body. So, of course, turmeric is one of the best things. But then if you're going to have turmeric, you can't just have turmeric on your own. You need what's called piperin, which is in black pepper. So you have to have black pepper with your turmeric. And I grow my own turmeric, so I grate it down, and then I've got black pepper, which I grind. But then you also have to have it warm and in something which is fat. It's got to be a fatty, like coconut milk or something like that. So you make your golden powder or whatever it is, and that. But if you have turmeric just on its own, it's not going to work and not going to help with the inflammation. So there's a whole lot of stuff. If you're growing your own food, you've got to be able to actually let your body access it properly. Because if you're not putting it in the right way, your body doesn't get any benefit from it.
Well, I've heard that before, but not to do with food.
But you can eat anything, hey?
I don't think I've ever been allergic to anything. I'm from the Eastern Cape. They make us tough.
But I was in the Eastern Cape as well.
Yeah, but you can't come from the Eastern Cape like I do.
Yeah, but I was allergic to horses, short-haired dogs, long-haired cats, specifically Siamese. So horse riding was always a bit of a mission.
No,
grass.
no.
If grass touched me, I'd come up in all. I'm talking about lawn grass.
Because you're a girl, man.
But then, but then some people. I mean, I'd still do everything though. But some people they're allergic to mushrooms.
Okay, now talking about being tough and
I'm very tough.
butch. And,
I'm very butch. You
are
can
you?
see. Look how butch I am.
okay, so this was told to me, and there is a connection to gardening.
Okay.
This was told to me in a pub called the Old Rose.
Yeah.
So there's your connection to gardening, roses. Okay, by my mate Jigs de Vet. Tells me this story about this guy who wants to join this really, really heavy bike club. But I mean, these oaks are heavy, eh? And he goes along. You've got to go for an interview.
Mm-hmm. Like the Hells Angels almost.
No, see, the Hells Angels are
Angels
angels
compared to them, okay.
These oaks, this group is called "Can You Like to Ride with Me?"
Okay.
Yeah. So he goes along to the interview, and the bloke says to him, "Right, tell us one thing that you've done that shows that you are tough." And he says, to carry on with your theme, I'm allergic to avocado pears. So I went up to the Lowveld, and I went into an avocado pear farm, yeah, Blas.
Blas, yeah.
Yeah. And I just ate for 4 days. I just ate avocado pears until I flushed out of my system the fact that I'm allergic to avocado pears. The guy says, "Nah, no, that's kiddie stuff, man. I want something. This is. Can you like to ride with us? I want something sterk here. I want a story." I says, "Yo." I went on my paddleboard in Cape Town, and I was paddling there by Seal Island. You know where's Seal Island?
Yeah.
And it's full of robber
Yeah.
seals.
Yeah.
And because it's full of seals, what's there too?
Sharks.
Great white sharks.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm paddling there, and the next thing I paddle like that, and the great white shark come and it hopped my whole arm off, and I bliksem off the paddle ski, and I push the paddle ski back, and I rip my arm out of the great white shark's mouth, and I throw it into the paddle ski, and I pull my knife out, and I stick the great white shark until it are dead.
Ja.
And then I climbed back into the paddle ski and I sew with fishing line. I sewed my arm back on by myself. Stoksail alleen in the ocean with fishing wire. I sew my arm back on.
Jy lieg.
Nah. And the guy says, that's a lekker one. You can join our club. And the guy says, lekker.
Okay, no, that is good. I'll give you that one. Oh, Lord. Nothing
Right.
to do with gardening, but
No,
lots to do with sharks
no,
and how to
exactly.
not make an absolute
Yeah.
prat of yourself. But actually, while we're talking about food, I've got a really nice guy that we should talk to at some stage. So a guy called Tim Abba, who has been helping people to grow since the beginning of lockdown. And in fact, before that, should I get him on board?
Let's get him on for next week.
Yeah, agroecology. Fantastic.
That's when we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.